Hello, and welcome back to the Caim Circle, where we create space for healing, self-discovery, and radical self-love. I'm Jessa Francis, and today we're diving into something that so many of us need, especially in February. While this month is often wrapped up in romantic love, I want to shift the focus inward. And I want to talk about self-love, and in particular, self-compassion, what they truly mean, why they're essential for our healing, and how we can cultivate them in our daily lives. So there have been many times where I really needed self-compassion, and it was in those moments that really made me or broke me, meaning that either I was able to show up for myself and offer myself that loving parental nourishment and guidance, or I abandoned myself and I backed away from my truth and I chose to dwell in victimhood and anger and hurt. Right? So where I have really been able to thrive in my life were those moments where I was able to be soft and kind to myself. And so because of that, that is why I feel it's so important to talk about this now. Now, for me, I just got done with dry January. It was a very busy, full month. And so I have dedicated some time in this month to just being kind, compassionate, and loving and gentle with myself. So it's really often that we hold ourselves to very unrealistic standards, right? And because of that, we're constantly beating ourselves up. It's one of the easiest things to do, is that negative self-talk that just rolls around in our mind just pretty constantly. And it actually takes some time to recognize that and to say, okay, enough is enough. This isn't helping me, right? We don't need that constant negative reinforcement. So I'd like to just offer you a moment to take a big, deep inhale in and sigh it out. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for stepping inside the Caim Circle, a space of sanctuary, protection, and unconditional love. It is here that I want you to know that you are seen, heard, and loved, that there is no judgment. You can soften, you can be yourself, you can let go of all of these strict rules around who you think you're supposed to be and just be yourself. So once again, thank you for being here. I'm really, this is really important to me to be able to talk about this. And because there's so many things that, self-love isn't just about bubble baths and affirmations. It's about how we treat ourselves when things get hard. That's really where self-compassion comes in. So I'm going to dive into a few different areas, and starting with, what is self-compassion, right? I think we all have different ideas on that definition, but I recently found Dr. Kristen Neff, who is one of the leading researchers on self-compassion, and she breaks self-compassion down into 3 core components. One is self-kindness versus self-judgment. And what that means is that we are treating ourselves with warmth and understanding rather than that harsh criticism. often, this is coming from ingrained, our upbringing, how we were spoken to as children, how we heard our guardians, our parents, our teachers speak to themselves, to each other, what we saw on TV, what we were absorbing, right? So there's a common trap. Many of us are kind to others, but brutal to ourselves. That is so common. We are our own worst enemy, right? So, for example, when you make a mistake, do you say to yourself, gosh, I'm so stupid? Or do you say, I'm human and I'm learning, right? And so a practice that we can have is just trying to speak to ourselves like you would a friend, like you would someone that you loved, right? So how often do you stop and think, okay, if my best friend was in this situation, how would I go to her? How would I speak to her, right? With kindness rather than judgment, right? And then the second component is common humanity versus isolation. And I thought this was really beautiful. What this means is that we're recognizing that everyone struggles, and that suffering is actually a shared human experience, right? And so often we're thinking, why am I the only one who feels this way? And we isolate ourselves. We make ourselves feel like we're the only ones. When I first came out with this podcast and shared my story in episode 1, I had many people reach out and say, I thought I was alone. No, you are not alone. And anything that you're feeling, we are doing this together. This is a common humanity, right? So if you're struggling with self-doubt, remind yourself that even the most confident people, even the most successful people, have felt that same way that you're feeling. They feel lonely. They feel shameful. They feel guilty. They feel anger and sadness, right? Loneliness. And so a practice that you can do here is you could try a journaling prompt. For example, what challenges have I faced that others might relate to, right? You're gonna be very surprised and think, okay, I know for sure I'm not alone in this. I know that other men have dealt with this. I know that other women have dealt with this. I know that other mothers, other daughters have dealt with this, right? So just offering yourself that as a way of just recognizing that you're not alone can be very helpful. And then the third component is mindfulness versus over-identification. So what it means is acknowledging our emotions without becoming consumed by them. All right, mindfulness versus over-identification. So we need to become aware of our emotions, the thoughts that are tied to them, right? And realizing that they are emotions and they are thoughts, they are not actually who we are. And we can't have to just completely identify with everything we think and feel. So this is really common. For example, when we think, I failed, so therefore I am a failure, right? I made a mistake. I am a mistake, right? I messed up. I, I did these things and like that makes me a mess up. No, and that's not true. It is not true at all. These are false narratives that are playing in your mind, and something that is so important. So instead of spiraling into what becomes negative self-talk, just simply observe your thoughts with curiosity, right? Just like I said, when we're here within the Caim Circle, this is a space of non-judgment. We are here to be curious, not judgmental. So when you make a mistake, when you fail, think, okay, how am I growing here? What is happening here, right? What can I learn? And just recognize that, yes, you made a mistake. And we all make mistakes. We all mess up. And that is how we grow, right? And for this, I really, I personally highly, highly recommend something that helps for more acute stress, right? So more acute anxiety, because usually this is when we're really feeling it. Whenever we feel like a failure, like we have failed, like that has the most pressure behind it and can create the most anxiety. So breath work and or meditation, right? So just pausing, breathing, and stating affirmations can be really helpful. For example, I see this emotion, but I am not this emotion. I am witness to these thoughts in my mind, but I am not these thoughts. I feel this negative energy, and I can cultivate a brighter, more loving energy, right? So right here, let's take a moment to just take a big deep breath. Exhale that out. Soften your shoulders and soften your jaw. You can place your left hand on your chest. And as long as you're not driving, you can place your right hand over that left hand. Inhale into the heart space. I am not my mistakes. I am not my failures. I am doing good work in this life and in this world. I have a lot of light and love within me. I am not my negative thoughts. So just breathing into that can be really, really helpful. And just taking just like that couple of seconds right there that we took to breathe, right? So self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. So that's important to say. Because, oftentimes we take self-care to the point of a lack of self-discipline. We still need self-discipline, right? Self-discipline is self-care. It is self-love. That we need self-discipline to continue showing up. But it's really about supporting yourself as you grow so you can grow. Okay, so really important there. So, February is often about external validation, right? Valentine's Day and all these nowadays social media expectations, what we're supposed to get from Valentine's Day, who we're supposed to be spending time with, and we can end up dwelling on those things oftentimes. And so redirecting love inward is so important, because until we really love ourselves, we can't give and show and shower love on others. And I have learned that the hard way, as many of us do, right? The difference between self-love and self-care is, think about it in this way. Self-care is an action, where self-love is the mindset behind the action. So when you're trying to differentiate between those, just think you need self-love to have self-care, right? And we need both of those, and we need self-discipline to do these actions. So self-discipline is a part of all of this. So I'd like to, reframe February, make it about self-connection, make it about healing and loving yourself first. So I would like to offer a loving kindness meditation, right? Where we can just sit here for a moment, and I'm going to do just a guided meditation. And all I want you to do is, and you can do this even if you're driving, even if you're walking, I want you to say a few things to yourself. There's all kinds of ways to do loving kindness meditations, but this is going to be very simple. So just inhale into the body and do a body scan as you soften your body as much as you can. Even, like I said, if you're moving, if you're walking, just imagine just softening your shoulders, softening the heart space, softening the face, breathing all the way down into your toes, rising up the body, all the way up the body, up the legs, into the hips, up the chest, down the arms, into the hands. Beautiful hands that hold, that move, that make, that do. Up into the face, around the crown of the head, and back down again. Then I want you to breathe into the heart space. And just say to yourself, may I be happy. May I be safe. May I be at peace. And again, may I be happy. May I be safe. May I be at peace. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be at peace. And now you can extend that outward. Now that we have that foundational love within the heart, you can imagine those around you. And it can just be anyone randomly. If you're driving or walking and you see people around, and you can just think, may they be happy. May they be safe. May they be at peace. And you can even think about someone in your life that needs some love. You can visualize them. May they be happy. May they be safe. May they be at peace. Now a little bit harder. I want you to think of someone that's been giving you a hard time. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's a past version of yourself. Maybe it's somebody that you know, an ex or a family member that you struggle with. Just offer them loving kindness. May they be happy. May they be safe. May they be at peace. Beautiful. Inhale and exhale. So there are a few different things that beyond that self-compassion practice that you can do, just like we did right now. You can do that anytime. There are a few other things, there are journaling practices, there's somatic practices, there's setting boundaries, there's romanticizing your own life. I'm going to talk you through a couple of these, but then I'm going to leave them in the show notes so that you can actually maybe copy and paste them or save them for yourself. So for example, with journaling prompts. So you can ask yourself, just like I had mentioned at the start, how would I speak to myself if I were my best friend, right? And then you can go forward and dive a little deeper. What parts of myself need the most love right now? That way you can start diving in on those areas. Where do you really need the love? What would really support you, right? And how can you show up and give that to yourself? And then a big one, and this is more for shadow work. And if you're looking for shadow work guidance, please reach out. I am a shadow work coach. But what limiting beliefs do I need to release? And if you're curious about limiting beliefs, make sure you can listen to some of my past episodes on limiting beliefs. I can link those as well. So those are some great ways to start with journaling prompts. When it comes to somatic practices to really embody self-love, so there's a few different things. It's not, a lot of times people think of somatic exercises as just physical exercises. But, and these are, physical in a sense, but one of them is just like a heart holding, just like I offered you in the loving kindness meditation, just to place your left hand on your heart and then place your right hand over your left hand. So placing your hands on your heart, breathing deeper, breathing deeply and being with your breath, breathing into the heart space, and either stating out loud, whispering, or thinking to yourself, I am worthy of love. Okay, I am worthy of love, and you are. And then, of course, there's yoga for self-compassion. There's dance for self-compassion. There's all kinds of physical fitness for self-compassion. But if you want just one beautiful yoga pose, child's pose. Child's pose is so good for the heart opening. But if you don't want to do that closed off, or what feels kind of like closed off because you're laying down, putting your chest down, you could also do like cobra pose or sphinx pose. And just like pushing your heart out and open. Camel is another really good one. But just imagining the heart space opening, imagining that heart space just glowing out, and you're just sharing that light, that sharing that love, sharing the heart with the world around you. And then breath work. There's deep belly breathing. There's breathing right into the heart space, breathing into the heart, into the chest, and really feeling that expansive breath throughout the chest, throughout the rib cage. And then with that breath, doing some very soothing affirmations that make you feel really good. I am safe, right? I am worthy of love. Okay, I am love is really helpful. You are love, right? Love is you. And then setting boundaries is a really, really big one. It's one of the biggest acts of self-love that you can offer yourself. Saying no without guilt, right? And guilt is so hard. And if you're dealing with a lot of guilt in your life, once again, I really, really highly recommend starting in on your shadow work journey to recognize where the guilt is coming from so that you can better understand how to process and release that guilt rather than clinging to it and staying and letting that control you. And then really thinking about your choice in relationships, okay? And your choice in community. Who are the people that you're hanging out with regularly? Who are you feeling inspired by? Who are you watching and being with? Choose relationships that are uplifting rather than draining. If you're spending time with people that you're just feeling drained, then I highly, highly encourage you to find a community of people that will inspire you, motivate you, and offer more of this kind of love, right? And that's why I offer the Caim Circle membership. So the Caim Circle membership offers all kinds of amazing things. You have yoga, you have breath work, you have philosophy, you have affirmations, journaling prompts, you have weekly work or monthly workshops, and then weekly sacred tea and talks where you can just hop on, grab a cup of tea, do a heart opening exercise with me and breathe and find compassion. And we also now have the Telegram group where you can just listen in to all kinds of beautiful information on mind body integration and spiritual expansion, where you can remain inspired, where you have a well to constantly drink and feel nourished from. So be sure to check that out. You can find more on my website at jessafrancis.net, or once again in the show notes here. So your community is so important and such an integral part of this self-love, self-compassion area, okay? And then so lastly, when it comes to, some practices, is romanticizing your own life. Now, I just recently have started taking myself on dinner dates, and that's something that used to mortify me. The thought of going in and sitting in a restaurant by myself was, I would have been embarrassed. And now I love it. I love taking myself out to a new restaurant that I've always wanted to go to, and having a little meal for myself. It's just so nourishing. Writing yourself a love letter is so, so sweet. Doing some poetry, writing some poetry can be really, really sweet. Reading poetry and then getting inspired by that. Creative expression, right? And then any kind of small ritual that can make you feel very cherished. So I offer full moon and new moon ceremonies. I offer these workshops and things like that that can be considered a ritual. Absolutely any kind of women's circle and things like that. Those are a bit bigger, but I want you to think small. I want you to think about just having a like a special cup of tea or a special kind of latte, or if that is, a special treat that you have that is nourishing and wholesome and can be, paired with other beautiful habits, such as I do tea and journaling, and then I've combined my meditation, tea, and journaling. I do that soft breathing. I have my tea. I'm in the present moment. I write, and that is my favorite ritual. And sometimes I just like to sit and light some candles, or every once in a while have a bubble bath. But think of the different things that you wish somebody would do for you and do them for yourself. We cannot spend our lives waiting for someone else to love us. We are the makers, we are the love, and we can love ourselves more fully. So, self-love and healing, right? I think that, before I end here, I think it's really important to talk about this. So, self-love is more than just feeling good. It is a tool for healing your past wounds and your traumas. Childhood conditioning affects how we love ourselves. So, once again, shadow work. This is a huge, beautiful opportunity to get curious about yourself so that you can step into self-awareness, self-discovery, self-inquiry, so that you can show up more fully for yourself. Love yourself better because you know the truth rather than just the conditioning. We've been programmed, and it's nobody's fault. I'm not pointing fingers at your parents or your upbringing. I'm just saying that you were born into a story. What was that story, right? What was taught to you? What was modeled to you? And what limiting beliefs did you get from that? What was your conditioning? And then, if you want to dive into the more traumatic areas, and finding the right person to talk to can be really, really helpful in helping you to find forgiveness, both of others and of yourself, and releasing the shame that so many of us are sitting with and holding on to. So, embracing self-compassion can truly end up breaking the cycles of self-sabotage. We're all we so I know I have had the worst self-sabotage, procrastination and avoidance, perfectionism, just clinging to like these ideas that, oh, I'm just not ready, and all of those things, or just sabotaging myself over and over, which was really tied to like this underlying belief that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't worthy of what it was that I was striving for. And we have to do the work. We have to do the shadow work to understand all of this. And that's why in my programs I infuse in all of the holistic practices, the breathing, the somatic movement, the writing, all of those things to help you break those cycles, to find forgiveness, to rewrite the programming, to understand the conditioning so that you can be unconditioned and give yourself unconditional love, right? So it's just to name that, true healing comes with self-compassion, right? So loving yourself, like I said, isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself again and again with kindness. Imagine what would happen if you spoke to yourself with the same love you give to others. How radical would that be? Pretty awesome, pretty radical. So this will post after tonight, but tonight is my self-compassionate path workshop, which is held in the Caim Circle, this month's Caim Circle workshop. It will be recorded with all of the great things for you to snag a hold of. It's only $9. If you would like to get that recording, let me know. I also have, if you are here in Charleston, I have several different opportunities to connect with me in person with different yoga classes, full moon ceremonies, picnics in the park, things like that. But if you are at a distance and you are wanting to connect to me even more, I highly recommend stepping in with me with either my one-on-one mentorship program or with the Caim Circle membership. And I have one big challenge for you. All right. I want to challenge my listeners today, and I want you to choose one self-compassion practice for February and commit to it just for this month. So, for example, I am doing a cacao ceremony, just a short, gentle cacao ceremony for myself every morning for this month. I'm doing a heart opening exercise and sipping on chocolate and just loving myself and opening my heart every morning. And so, but you don't need to go too fancy. It can be, like I said, it could just be having a cup of tea and breathing. It could be offering yourself a new affirmation that you hold to every day. Just think about that for yourself. And if there was one compassionate practice that you could begin implementing, what would that be? And I challenge you to stick to it, right? So I would love if you would maybe, if you've gone through a self-love journey, share it with me. Share it on Instagram, tag me, tag the Caim Circle. If this episode really spoke to you, please, if you could think of somebody else to share it with, share it. If you would be so kind as to give me a review and rate me, so rate this podcast so the podcast can grow, I would truly appreciate that. Anything that gets this out there more, and so that I can extend my reach and help more people, that is my goal. Thank you so much again for being here, for doing this work, and for choosing to love yourself a little more each day. So, one last inhale in, exhale out. Until next time, stay kind to yourself, and I will see you next week.